a dent. This girl's out here skunk. I'm not your friend. I can't kick for nothing.
Raven is back again to share another interesting, shocking, or just strange, but very true story with you. Today, we're going to explore 3 stories of victims and the chilling photographs they last appeared in. In 2015, 18-year-old Cheyenne Rose Antoine and her best friend Brittany Gargle did something that many young girls do. Something they didn't think twice about. They took a selfie, a picture that would later come back to haunt one of them. The picture shows the friends posing together, Cheyenne grinning and holding the phone, and Brittany smirking with a hand on her hip. They posted the picture to Facebook and went on a night out. The story goes that the two ended up hopping between bars in downtown Saskatoon. At some point during the night, Brittany apparently met a man. Brittany and this man hit it off, getting along so well that she decided to leave with him. Sometime after Brittany and Cheyenne had parted ways, Cheyenne decided to use social media to get back in contact with her friend. She made a post on Facebook asking her where she had gone. "Where are you, Brittany? Haven't heard from you. Hope you make it home safe, and I need my phone. Love ya." She never received a reply. This is the case's first twist, but I could never have predicted the outcome. In the early hours of the next morning, a driver was going down the dark valley road near the Saskatoon landfill on the southern outskirts of the city when he noticed something peculiar on the side of the road. Something about the shape turned his stomach, so he pulled his car over and got out. As he approached, he realized that it was the body of a young woman. She was lying on her back without any shoes. Worrying that the girl may be injured, the man checked for any signs of life. But horribly, he found she was cold to the touch and she wasn't breathing. When he saw her neck and the markings there, he realized that she was dead and had probably been strangled. The man, of course, called the police, and an investigation was launched to find the identity of the young woman. Lucky for the police, she had distinctive tattoos, and they released pictures to the public in a bid to match a name to the disturbing corpse. A woman came forward and said she was worried that the body belonged to her friend. It was determined to be Brittany Gargle. Investigators started to put the clues together to understand what happened to her. They utilized the girl's social media, and everything seemed to point to the mysterious man who Brittany had left the bar with. But that isn't what actually happened at all. No, the real story is much, much darker. Here's where it gets crazy.
I knew it had to be a twist to this, because that's crazy. That's already crazy. We're finna find out what's even crazy, though.
Investigators go to interview Cheyenne. After all, she was Brittany's best friend, and presumably one of the last people to see her alive. She worriedly tells the police, "Yeah, we got ready together that night and then went to the bar and then a house party. And then last we went to Colonial Pub and Grill. That's where Brittany asked some dude for a lighter and kinda invited him to tag along with us. But after that I got dropped off at the Lighthouse. It's an assisted living shelter, because I wanted to visit my uncle and I never saw Brittany again after that." Her story sounded credible enough, and Cheyenne was pretty forthcoming.
Wait, why did she leave her friend? Just imagine we got some friends, right? Hanging out, through the night and stuff. Most of the time, a normal friend is not finna, leave. We go hang out that whole night and stuff, you feel me? But she leaves, especially, girls and stuff. They be liking to hang out all the time and stuff. She leaves her friend and let her leave with a man. Something fishy about her. She got something to do with it.
Even putting her uncle on the phone with police to corroborate her version of the events. Pretty much everything checked out. But still, the investigators did their due diligence and sought to tie up this loose end by double-checking Cheyenne's timeline with the surveillance footage taken at the pub she said they last visited. And that's when they saw something that made their blood run cold. Or rather, it's what they didn't see. They couldn't find any trace of either Brittany or Cheyenne at the establishment. Investigators were taken aback. Could the sweet teenage girl they'd just spoken with really know more than she was letting on? They checked the security footage from the Lighthouse shelter. Cheyenne and her uncle had never met up that night either. Suddenly, they started to doubt Cheyenne's story, and this suspicion marked the beginning of a 2-year investigation to untangle the complicated events of that dark night. It was the innocent selfie that the two took and posted only 6 hours before the discovery of Brittany's death that finally broke the case and was the key to unraveling the truth. When Brittany's body was discovered, something had been nearby, but at the time, no one thought too much about it. It was a black belt, a belt that was later believed to be the weapon used to strangle her. And that distinctive belt, braided and thick, was awfully familiar. That same belt was the one in the photo the girls had taken at the beginning of the night and was worn by Cheyenne. I took another look at the picture because at first, I couldn't remember the belt.
Told y'all, bro, she had something to do with it. Cheyenne knew what she was doing, bro. She took the picture. I don't know why she took the picture, though. We gotta find out.
But there it is, in the very corner of the photo. So, what actually happened that night? Well, unfortunately, it still doesn't totally make sense to this day. The friends spent the evening drinking, and for the most part, they had a good time. But this didn't last. At some point during the night, the alcohol the two had been consuming stopped encouraging their laughter and instead fueled a heated argument. Brittany never met a man and left with him. The Facebook post Cheyenne had made to Brittany that night was an attempt to cover her tracks, and she
Oh my gosh, she is so smart, bro. That's smart. That's smart, but still, it's still bad, but that's smart. That's so smart.
Social media to create a web of lies that kept investigators looking for a different suspect. Ultimately, it was a tip to the police from a witness who claimed Cheyenne confessed to the unthinkable.
I was thinking, like, that is kind of weird. Like, why would you make a post on Facebook publicly to everybody, hoping that your friend has a good night with the dude and hope she come home safe and all that? Like, that's kind of weird. Like, you would text that person privately. So, that is kind of sketchy.
Reportedly, she had shown up at the witness's house and hysterically confessed to how she had hurt her friend, hitting and strangling her. But what kind of argument could lead someone to kill their best friend? We don't know. Cheyenne says she doesn't remember strangling Brittany, but she doesn't dispute that she killed her. Cheyenne was initially charged with the second-degree murder of her best friend, Brittany Gargle. But at the trial in 2018, she pleaded guilty to a charge of manslaughter and was sentenced to 7 years behind bars. Looking at the picture, I find it so eerie to see Brittany smiling happily after having just helped her friend decide to wear the weapon that would be used to kill her. The next last photo we are exploring is one that captures a moment of delight as an adventure is about to take place, but has
That's crazy, man.
now become a
It's always your close homies, bro. I mean, your close people.
haunting reminder of a life cut too short. 30-year-old Swedish freelance journalist Kim Isabel Fredrika Wall had a promising career ahead of her, and by 2017 had already accomplished publishings in Time, The Guardian, and The New York Times, and had even won awards for her reports. One of Kim's upcoming career endeavors was to interview the Danish inventor and entrepreneur Peter Madsen. In early 2017, she had requested an interview with him, but Madsen didn't agree until August. As a bit of an eccentric, Madsen invited Kim to interview him alone on his homemade submarine UC-3 Nautilus. Kim agreed, but only planned to be there for 2 hours, as she and her boyfriend were throwing a going-away party to celebrate their planned move to Beijing later that month. On August 10th, Kim boarded the submarine, and this photo was taken. In it, Kim smiles, standing with her upper body above the submarine's tower hatch. At her side, looking over his shoulder, is Peter Madsen. Kim was apparently afraid to go into the submarine, according to her boyfriend, but despite her reservations, she went anyway, as she was fascinated by people dedicated to something. Kim's boyfriend became concerned when Kim never arrived at their party. He went in search and reported Kim as missing, but then Madsen was found. The morning after Kim had come to interview him, he was rescued from his submarine after it foundered. Despite being aboard a sinking submarine and nearly trapped within, Matson was discovered to be calm and serious and unshaken by the frightening events, but there was no sign of Kim. Initially, Matson claimed that he had dropped Kim off after her interview concluded, but as you will see, that wasn't the case at all. Something about the damage to the submarine was suspicious to the authorities, who saved Matson, and they soon suspected that he had intentionally scuttled the ship. But why would Matson destroy his own submarine? And where was Kim Wall? The ship was eventually raised up, and there was no evidence of Kim on board. Yet Matson's calm demeanor and matter-of-fact recounting of the night's events was unnerving. When researching, I found quite a few different accounts of that night, and it turns out Matson gave multiple different stories, none of which added up. This is probably why he came under suspicion in the first place, along with the fact that the submarine never docked after Kim boarded. So no matter what he said, nothing could explain how Kim could be safe if the submarine never came back to land until after it had foundered. Because of this, Matson was swiftly arrested after his rescue. Initially, he was charged with negligent manslaughter as police suspected Kim's fate had been an unfortunate accident. And at first, Matson changed his story again to match this assumption. But soon more evidence washed ashore. Gruesome and horrifying evidence. 11 days after Kim's disappearance, a cyclist was enjoying a bike ride along a beach in the southwest of Amar. The wind was whipping up off the water, but the sea breeze was pleasant. Among the rocky shore, the cyclists noticed something peculiar, and they slowed down, coming to a full stop near the misshapen lump that they just couldn't quite identify. Nearing it, the cyclists realized, with horror and the knowledge that they would never be able to forget what they were seeing, that it was part of a woman's body. Her torso beheaded and without limbs, and bearing the marks of stab wounds congregated around the groin. Body parts just kept washing up on the shore. And at first no one was sure who the body belonged to. In order to end the horror of a beach laden with body parts, cadaver dogs and police divers were brought in. They found Kim Wall's head in a plastic bag. Matson maintained that Kim's death had been an accident, though he soon admitted that he had been the one to dismember and dispose of her body in the sea. Here's where the story gets crazy. Matson's explanation was that while he had been up on the deck, the air pressure within the submarine suddenly dropped and caused toxic fumes to fill the air supply, killing Kim. The problem is the medical examiner can't determine the exact cause of death because Kim's body had been exposed to water for so long and decomposed. However, the coroner testified that they were doubtful that Kim's death was caused by carbon
Boy, there's some smooth ass promo shit.
monoxide poisoning, though it was possible, but thought it was more likely strangulation, a cut to her throat, or drowning. What the medical examiner did know for certain was that Kim's body had sustained more than 14 wounds and cuts. But Matson had an explanation. He claimed he slashed her body to prevent the buildup of gases that occurs when a person dies. That way she would sink to the seabed. He also admitted that he dismembered her because he couldn't lift her body off the submarine otherwise. Well, it didn't make sense to the judge. Matson was found guilty of premeditated murder, aggravated assault, and desecrating a corpse, and sentenced to life in prison. I can't help but wonder what Kim was thinking when that chilling last photo of her was taken. Did she have any idea of the horror that was waiting for her in that submarine? The final disturbing last photo we're taking a look at today might be the most chilling of them all, and in fact has frequently earned the title of the most terrifying photograph. In 1990, 14-year-old Regina K. Walters and her boyfriend Ricky Lee Jones were standing alongside a highway, hoping to hitchhike a ride. The two young teens had just run away from their homes in Pasadena and thought that their luck had turned when a truck pulled over to offer them a ride. The driver was Robert Ben Rhodes, a man who at this point is believed to have had a long criminal career and had already killed a couple in a situation eerily similar to the one that Regina and Ricky found themselves in. Of course, they had no idea that Robert, who seemed trustworthy and was kind enough to offer them a ride, was plotting to make them his...
That's the first thing where they messed up at. Why are they getting strangers' cars? What they parents teaching them? My mama, bro. I don't know about y'all moms and stuff, but don't get in no stranger car. Like, what the fuck?
Next victims. Almost as soon as Regina and Ricky climbed into Robert's truck, everything went wrong. Robert killed Ricky before quickly disposing of his body in a methodical and cold manner. But of course it was methodical. Robert ostensibly had a lot of practice at this point. Robert had already done this exact calculated routine on his previous victims, Patricia Candace Walsh and her husband Douglas Zakowski, a few months prior. He felt sure of himself as he held Regina captive in the truck. It is reported that he continually assaulted her in a variety of ways, and even cut off all of her long curly brown hair. Robert would occasionally call Regina's father on a payphone, taunting him and telling him about how he had cut off all of his daughter's hair. This time, Robert forced Regina to stay with him longer than his other victims, probably because he had been able to get away with it up to this point, and didn't worry he'd be caught. It's unknown
Why is that nigga looking like that?
exactly how long he kept Regina captive, nor the extent of the horrors that the young girl faced. I tried to narrow down an exact timeline, but unfortunately the only piece of evidence that gives any indication are photographs that Robert took of Regina. These pictures show her hair growing back and multiple bruises, all in different stages of healing. With this in mind, it's a safe guess to say he held her hostage for months. Among the photos Robert had taken was one that is haunting, to say the least. It shows Regina in an abandoned farmhouse wearing a black dress and heels that Robert had forced her to put on. He then calmly took photos of her, one of which shows that her hair is cropped short and her dress is unbuttoned. Regina's face expresses so much in one photo: absolute fear and sadness, but also a hint of defiance in the way she frowns. She holds her arms out in front of her in defense. The longer I look at the picture, the more I could see everything that must have been going through her mind. This is the last photo of Regina alive, and Robert, behind the camera, was the last thing she ever saw. After the photo was taken, Robert picked up baling wire and strangled Regina. As a testament to his state of mind and the coldness with which he treated Regina, after she was dead, he simply left her body on the floor of the barn, where it began to decompose. Robert later earned the infamous name of the truck stop killer, and though Regina was his last victim, she was allegedly just one of many. Purportedly, Robert was arrested when another woman he had kidnapped screamed until she was found in Robert's truck by a trooper. Robert was convicted of Regina K. Walters' death and 2 others. He was given life without parole. Robert is suspected of assaulting and killing up to 50 women.
Is this the nigga? This the Robert dude? He's sick, bro. He looks sick. Look at him. I wouldn't even trust nobody like this to get in their car, like their truck or whatever. Like, this nigga sick. Y'all getting in this nigga car, bro? Cause I'm not. Looking like that, bro.
Women between the years of 1975 and 1990. To this day, Robert sits in Maynard Correctional Center in Chester, Illinois.